will help you set up your first Google ad. So if you remember 2 sessions ago, we looked at Google Search Console, set it up and got it connected to your website. If you have to go to Search Console today and have a look at what your website has picked up and you can see the traffic, the first place I suggest you look is there from a keyword planner perspective, because it will already show how people are finding your website. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to start with Google Ads and your keyword planner. So today I'm gonna run through a whole lot of slides. There's a ton of information on the slides, so I may not talk about everything on the slide. I have printed it out for you guys, and Tracy will share after the fact, and you can sit back and read through each one of those things within your own time and while you're setting up your own Google ads, if you like. I've just realized I'm on the wrong slide. I'm going to go through last week's. So let's start there. That's better. Cool. So I think everybody knows what it is. I mean, what is Google Ads? So it's a way for you to kind of reach your customers instantly. If you don't want to go through the whole SEO process and wait a little while and you want to reach customers now, or if you're running a promo or a special or an event that's happening in the next few days, weeks, Google Ads is a place to go to kind of share the message on whatever you're planning. So I think some of the ways, and I'll show you a couple of them today, on how Google works and Google Ads works, and how to get you visitors to your website through an ad, how to get, to get your ad to do specific things. I've got 2 ads. I hope you've got enough time today. I've got 2 ads that I want to set up on our profile. One is to try and get more phone calls, and the other is to drive more traffic to our website. So let's give you the first view of what your account will eventually look like. So this is kind of the dashboard, and as you can see on the left-hand side, there's different types of campaigns. Today, we are only going to focus on search campaigns. I don't want to take you into display, and I'm going to suggest from the get-go, if this is the first time you're running a Google ad, focus on search. Let's not look at the others because it becomes extremely complicated. It's easy to use Google Ads, but it can become extremely complicated, and your ad, instead of taking a few minutes to set up, could take you a couple of days because there's a lot of stuff that the other campaigns require. So display campaigns needs a lot of assets, pictures and images and those kind of things, which you have to develop before the time. So let's stick to search campaigns today. It's just word-based, and it's pretty simple to kind of set up. So let's get through the information. So basically, I've set up a basic checklist for you before you even start thinking about setting up your first ad. Well, before you even start setting up your first ad. So basically, the things we're going to talk about are keywords. Google Ads is an auction house, basically. So once you set up your ads work on a bid strategy that Google has set up, and I'll kind of explain how that works around your quality score, your ranking, and conversions and things like that. So I'm not going to go through this. I want you guys to read this. This is for your information. So the first thing I suggest you do is, plan your ad and think about what do you want to get out, what do you want to advertise, and then break it up into different groups. On the far right of the screen, I've shown you, so we're just talking about search ads today. There's 6 ads on the right-hand side, and they set up very differently to each other. So the basic search ads will be the second one, and probably the last one. The last one is just got, you pull your Google rankings in with ads. We're not going to go through that today. That's a lot of stuff to do. So we're just going to do the basics. But I think from a planning perspective, have a look at the ads, And you can kind of see what it takes to create one of these ads. So create your, plan your campaign, create your different ad groups. And at the bottom of the screen, I've put in the length limits of an ad. So when we get to the ads and setting up the ads, I've created a tiny little spreadsheet this morning to kind of show you what this means. So it helps me count the amount of characters I have from a headline perspective, and I'm just make sure that I don't go over the max length that they give us. As you can see, it's 30 characters for a headline and 90 characters for a description. So it helps you plan, how long your description will be, or your headline, or whatever it is. So do yourselves a favor, create yourself a little spreadsheet before you get off. I'll show you what mine looks like. It's very basic. I mean, it can become, the planning we do for customers is a lot more in depth, and it's got a truckload of more information, but I'd rather keep you to the basics for today. So a basic budget, this is kind of one of the ways you can look at it. Plan your budget. I think set up a budget from the get-go. Don't do anything big. Start small. You can put an ad together, I'll show you today, for as little as 250 Rand. And you can kind of figure out what you want to do with that 250 Rand. So, do you want to drive more traffic and kind of get people to view who you are? So cost per impressions, or do you want a cost per click, which brings people to your website, or it gets them to make a call, or whatever the case is. So you can kind of budget from the get-go. And I'll show you some of the tricks as we go through the planning on how to help you, set the budget up effectively. Then you can see a link at the bottom of the screen there. It's a little plugin that works with Firefox and with Google Chrome. So as part of your keyword research process, the first place you go to, like I said, is let's go to Search Console that we set up last week or the week before. Have a look at what your keywords are, how people are finding you. A lot of those keywords might be one or two keywords. I think one thing you've got to think about is, if you are your customer, think about how they would find your product. So if we were going to talk about, let's say I want to buy a pair of trainers for my daughter, and she wanted it to be pink and laceless and Velcro, how would I find that? So you can go to Google search, so google.co.za, and you can start typing in girls pink tacky, laceless pink tackies, or where can I buy, think about that whole sentence. That is a keyword. That's classified as a keyword. It's classified as a long tail keyword. Other thing you got to keep in mind is when you're going through keyword planning is, today people don't just type what they want, they talk. So you can go to Hey Siri, or Hey Alexa, or Hey Google, or whatever it is. My phone just started up. And then say, Google, find me the following, whatever it is, and think about what that is, because that is also a keyword. It's not just the stuff you type, but it's the way you say things. And there's a couple of tricks on how to kind of set up the keywords, and I'll show you those. There's different ways of setting up the keywords. We'll touch on that shortly. So first place to start, Search Console. Second, go to Google, the basic search, start typing in your keyword. And as you can see, Google pops up a whole lot of suggestions on its own. And those suggestions are generally what people have been looking at in the last 5 to 7 hours. So it gives you a place to start to say, like how Keyword Planner works, how Google Keyword Planner works for SEO. And it brings up these kind of things, and you can start using those as your basic initial keywords. Once you hit enter, it'll bring up a whole lot of, suggestions to websites and ads and things like that. But on the right side of your screen, if you've got those keywords everywhere installed, it'll give you other information, additional information, with keywords related to what you just typed in. It'll give you the volume that's kind of been searched in the last month, what the average cost per click is. Jeff, I think this answers all your questions you had earlier. And then what your competition looks like. And you can kind of export that to a CSV file, and that could be the beginning of your keyword planning process. That's just another way of doing it outside of the Google Keyword Planner itself. So while you're sitting planning your keywords, there are different ways of preparing your keywords. And these are the ways that Google kind of looks at how you set up your keywords. So initially, all your keywords are going to be a broad match, because you're just going to type in this example, lighting fixture. And you can kind of see what it will bring up if you type those keywords into Google and hit enter in the search, Google search. Then there's a modified broad match. So in this case, you want the lighting to be the word that you're looking for, and fixtures just an add-on, because you can't think of, is it a lamp that I want, or a wall attached lamp or light, or is it a chandelier? So you type plus lighting and then whatever word thereafter, and it will bring up a whole lot of other options in your search. So as you can see here, lighting a fire, camp lighting, lamp lighting, etc. If you want the exact phrase, so in this case, lighting fixture, you put them in inverted commas, and it will bring up specific results with lighting fixture in the results. Exact match, you put the square brackets around it. And then the negative match is, so in the keyword planning, I'll show you how to do this another way, but you could put in a negative match to say, I don't want cheap lighting fixtures, I don't want a used lighting fixture, and I don't want something that sits on the wall. So you minus the word that you don't want to see, and it will bring back, the results that you actually want to see. And the same thing goes into when you're planning your ads. You can add those in as a negative match, and it will not show those things up. So if somebody asks for a cheap, used, wall-mounted lighting fixture, your ad's not going to show up, because you don't want that business, because that's not what you do, for example. And then obviously the scale, it shows the broad match will bring you a lot more, people to your website or clicks you on your ad, whereas the relevance is the people that you actually want to deal with. When you're setting up your ad, you've got to think about where you want people to land. So I thought I had an example here, but I don't. So let's say you've got a web store, an e-commerce store that sells clothes and shoes and the likes, and you want to run an ad on trainers as an example. Think about, when you're setting up your ad, think about how your website is laid out, and think about the page that you want people to land on. So if you're running a promo on a specific pair of trainers, as an example, make sure that your ad links them to that page specifically. If you're just selling trainers in general, make sure that they land on a page with all your trainers on it. So you might have a category called trainers or whatever it is. So make sure your page that you're sending people to relates to your ad. You don't want to send, do a trainer for sale ad, and then you send it to your front page, which has got absolutely nothing to do with trainers. Another thing you've got to think about is, who and where are your customers finding you and searching for you? Are they on tablets, PCs, laptops, phones? And while you're thinking about that, how do you want to attract these people? How do you want to see these people? So the nice thing about Google Ads is you can set it up to run at a specific time, to a specific place. Here's an example. I helped a filling station not so long ago to run a Google ad. We set it up with a proximity, and it was only focused on people with mobile phones. And most phones these days has got some sort of Google something loaded. I mean, I've got an iPhone, I've got Google Maps installed, and I've got Google Chrome installed, and all those kind of things. The way we set up the ad was, if somebody came in to put petrol in their car, so we've got a 500-meter radius set around the building, the ad popped up on this person's phone to say, while you're filling up, come inside for a coffee and a muffin. muffins running at whatever the cost is, special today for you. That ad only ran between 10 and 12, so it was a morning thing. So think about who you want to attract. If you want to run an ad that's running a lunch special, run your ad from 11 to 2 and then shut it down. If you have got a store and you want people to buy online, focus your ad on a PC, because that's potentially where most of your customers are coming from. So think about these things, which devices your customers are using. Okay, let's talk about the basics. So when you first sign on to Google Ads, you're gonna, and you're logged in and you've created your profile, you're gonna be presented with a few things. You've all seen the tools and settings under analytics, little icon there in the little gray icon in the left hand of the screen. The first thing you got to do is you got to link your account, because obviously you want as much data from your ads, and you want to integrate it with things like analytics. So Google Ads allows you to do that. So you can either do it from the Google Analytics side or just do it from the ad side, which is probably easier. Click on the little tools and settings, go to setup. There you can see linked accounts is highlighted. It'll bring up a list of all your accounts. Just link it to your Google Ads account that's associated with this portfolio. Okay. Let's talk about Google Ads now. So my bread and butter is in SEO. The first place I start when growing a new site is content and links. It's our number one go-to strategy, and I recommend this all the time, except when you need results right now. So SEO and content is powerful. It's the most profitable way to scale a website over long term, but it takes time and it requires a little patience. So this is where AdWords is completely the opposite. So if you want results today or the next hour kind of thing, we'd go look at AdWords, and you can get this up and running in a couple of minutes, up to an hour. You could potentially have your first sale if you're doing it right. The best part about Google Analytics is it's performance-based. So what do we mean by that? So we're talking about pay-per-click advertising, and Google Ads specifically, it's things like banner ads, cost per 1,000 impressions. So this is, you're kind of paying for events and results rather than just people seeing your ad. So what's nice about Google Ads is, you don't pay for no results, you don't pay for no clicks, you don't pay for no leads. And obviously, if you set up your ads correctly, you'll only pay for the sales. So if you want somebody to phone you and you set up your ad correctly, where you don't want to pay per impression, but rather as per phone call, you can kind of set it up to say, only bill me when I have a phone call that's lasted more than 60 seconds. But that's not obviously that's the only benefit. When people go to Google, they're looking for something specific. That means they have intent. They're actually looking for something to buy. They're literally telling you, I'm ready to buy by typing in the words for the products and services that you provide. This is why it is so powerful and potentially profitable. I'll give you an example here. So Google, for every $3 spent, obviously they're an American company, on online advertising, they get $1 back. That is their cost, and that's their source of revenue. Over 95% of their $60 billion annual revenue comes from Google AdWords. So combine this with I think they've got over 1 million users or businesses that use it. So now you know where they're kind of making money. Show you an example here. So this is an image from YouTube. Look at the kind of money that some of these companies are spending. People don't fool around with Google Ads. You can kind of see, the impressions that they're getting, the click-through rate. So Google AdWords is a marketplace where companies pay to have their website ranked at the top of search result pages based on their keywords. So let's be honest, Google loves big brands in the organic search rankings. So unless or until you're a big brand, it's going to be tough to outrank other big vendors. So I've got an example here of Domino's.
Please would everyone mute their audio?
So as you can see, if you set your ads up right, so Domino's is a big brand, you could potentially beat them. I mean, you know, if you're a pizza company, 9 times out of 10, your pizza is probably better than Domino's. There are ways to, you know, cheat with Google Ads to kind of get your ad above these big spending companies. As you can see, Grubhub over here has taken over #1 from Domino's for one of the best keywords in their industry. And then this other Raka Pizzeria, apparently some no-named place, was able to breathe down Domino's neck too by coming in, you know, just below them. And I'll show you how, as we move through this, how that actually works. So basically, even as smaller players can duke Domino's out of the top of a search, you know, search results. And it basically took these guys a couple of minutes as opposed to months with SEO. AdWords gives a little extra bonus too. It can help you reveal the money-making keywords in your industry. So by just spending a few bucks, you'll discover which keywords convert the best. So you can take a look at them to get the context back into your SEO strategy. So people bid big money for clicks, but the highest bid doesn't always win. Google combines many factors, as I said, one of them being the quality factor, which basically means so what Google does is it looks at your ad, it looks at your website, it looks at the kind of traffic, it looks at your bounce rate, it looks at how long bounce rate is, how long people stick around on your page, and they kind of put all of this stuff together and then, you know, determine which ad would be best suited and presented to the person that's kind of looking for whatever it is they're looking for. So Google Ads is going to take a little time to master. It's a place where a lot of companies lose money because they're not patient. So one thing you got to do is kind of you got to be patient to get your results from pay-per-click advertising. So before we begin getting into the nitty-gritty, I want you guys to think about and commit to 3 things for me. Don't spend a lot of money. I mean, set a basic fixed budget for as little as 250 Rand or even 500 Rand. That's enough to get you started. 2, don't overcomplicate things. The Google AdWords interface is complex, yet it's easy to get lost and start creating dozens of variations of your ads. Don't. Keep it simple. Do as little as the platform allows you to begin. I'll kind of show you that. I've got a demo ad that I'll put together today. And then be patient. This is by far the most important part of how 99% of people lose their money on AdWords. It's simply that they quit too early. So there is, initially when you set up, be prepared for the upswing. So initially when you set up your ad and you set it up, Google doesn't know you. They don't know how people are going to react to your ads. So they kind of spend your money slowly. And once they've figured out, you know, how your ad works, how people are reacting to your ad, how they, you know, interacting with your ad, they kind of swing things around. So the first 2 weeks of your ad, your month ad, let's say you've set it up for a month, could be very slow. The last week and a half, all of a sudden, could get thousands of clicks, and you've got your phone, you know, ringing up the hook. So kind of prepare yourself for that. So keep yourselves, you know, keep yourselves a promise. Don't spend a lot of money. Don't overcomplicate things, and be patient. If you're okay with that, you know, let's get started with some of the basics. So let's have a look at what setting up a campaign is about. A keyword is a word or phrase that users search for and sees your ads, and it gets to see your ads. And your ads will show up with a keyword that you pick. So the dashboard you can see here is fairly complicated, but we'll get to that. So Google counts the clicks on your ads and charges you for every click. Again, it depends on how you set up your ad. They also count impressions, so CPM, cost per thousand, and it basically tells you a number how often your ads have been seen by people. If you divide clicks by impressions, you'll get your click-through rate, or CTR. This is the percentage of people or users who land on your advertised page because they clicked on your ad. This is important because click-through rate tells you which ads are working well and which aren't. So as I mentioned earlier, Google AdWords it's like an auction house. You have to set up a budget and you have to bid on that budget. The bid sets how much you're willing to pay for each click. Let's say your bid is a maximum of R4. Google will only show your ad to people if other people aren't bidding more or on average on the same keywords. So obviously Google wants to maximize their revenue. So naturally they'll show the ads of companies who kind of bid the highest amount for that keyword, assuming that all bidders have the same quality score. If people are bidding less for that keyword that you want your ad to show up for, Google won't spend your maximum bid. So if your maximum bid is set at R2 or R4, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spend R2 or R4 on that click. Google will optimize, impressions and bids around that click, and it'll gauge it on a lot of things like your quality score, which I kind of mentioned a bit earlier. Google doesn't just want to show your ads to people, or from the highest bidder. They could have horrible ads and horrible landing pages. They care about the user, so the person searching, more than they kind of careful, the money that they get. They want to present their visitors with relevant information for that specific person. I think we spoke about cookies on the last session. Somebody asked about what are cookies. So your website and your Google ads will place a cookie on somebody's computer and kind of track them. Kind of where do they go, what do they search for, what their likes, dislikes, and it kind of uses that information as part of presenting your ad to the researcher. So none of these things really matter if you're not getting conversions. And you will have to decide what a conversion is to you. Is it a new lead? Is it a sale? Is it somebody reading your blog? Is it somebody filling in your subscribe now form or get more details? So basically, you got to decide what you want the user to do, and what is the action you want it to take on your ads. In some cases, that action might be something other than a person like purchase. Like I said, signing up for an email or entering their personal information to subscribe to your emails. Companies are often quick, we burn hundreds and hundreds of rands on AdWords, pay-per-click advertising, as you saw earlier. Some of their budgets are kind of endless. And I think something you got to keep in mind is when you set your budget, keep an eye on your ads. I mean, most of the ads you kind of set up initially, Google doesn't always show you how to do it. Is you'll set up an ad, it will start today, and that's it. You need to kind of look at how long the ad's been running and does it meet your budget. You should be able to pause it. I will show you how to pause it. going forward, or how to set up an end date. I mean, if you just leave it running, think about it this way. If you've got 10 campaigns running for various keywords and you've got a budget of 10 Rand a day and you've got no end date, or you just let the thing run, I mean, you could end up with a bill of like 30,000 Rand at the end of the month, which you clearly didn't expect. So you've got to keep an eye on the ads. That's why you need conversions as well, to be sales of a product in order to quickly regain the money that you spend on ads. Very important. In order to make money from ads, you obviously need to be selling something, not just gathering information from people. So conversions is what we'll start with. I'll take you through how to set up your account, make sure you track your click-through rate and conversions, and then we'll get the ball rolling. But first, let's go through a bit of a deeper dive on how Google AdWords actually works. I'm talking about the math and factors which determine the two things you should care about most: how much you have to pay and where you're going to rank. So back in the old days, you could kind of bid on just about any keyword, and it was kind of a straight auction that didn't factor in any relevance between what people are searching for and what you were advertising. Until not so long ago, Google brought in the quality score, and this kind of changed it all. So this metric combines several factors in order to effectively determine how good your offer is for someone's search. Okay, so this is going to start getting a little bit nerdy, but it's critical for you to understand these basic fundamentals. Each keyword in your ad or in your account will get its own quality score. So yes, we might set up the initial ad group with 15 keywords. Each of them are individualized in your campaign. So 2 keywords in the same ad group, and I'll show you how to do that, what that is in a little bit, can have a different quality score. So the first factor we're looking for is relevancy. For example, if somebody searches for, let's say, snowboard rentals, which phase do you think will have a higher relevance score? Snowboard rentals in Turpentine or skiing rentals? Should be simple, right? Even though they're related, one is obviously a much better fit. The same thing happens though through a campaign when you're using key phrases like snowboard rentals, snowboard rental pricing, snowboard rentals in Turpentine. This time they're all pretty relevant, but depending on the popularity of each, you ideally want to be as specific as possible. For example, you might mean creating individual ads for even new campaigns for each of these specific keywords. Because the second factor taken into account is the click-through rate, both expected and historical. Your ads will get impressions, views, and actual clicks. Your click-through rate is the calculation of clicks from views. A higher click-through rate generally means that your ad and keyword relevancy is better than others with a lower click-through rate, assuming your copy is obviously very good and your web page, your landing page has got good information and people are not bouncing. Next, and I think in our case, when we're setting up a new ad group and a new ad portfolio, it's not really relevant, but your account history is definitely considered. Although it's a minor piece of the pie, it does play a role in helping Google determine if you're legitimate, credible, if you have a credible brand, you've got good product and services, and you deliver good content. So all of these factors so far deal with your actual AdWords account. But the other side of the coin is your landing page, or the place where people go to once they click on your ad. It needs to be relevant. And it needs to be relevant to something somebody has searched for. So like in this example, so somebody's looking for flowers, and your ad shows, get your flowers the next day or get it today, get it delivered today. They click on the ad. That should take them to your landing page, which is focusing on the special or the promotion that you're running for the day. It also needs to be user-friendly. So it shouldn't be tough to kind of navigate to get to the bottom of where you go add to cart, or you've got a ton of information about the flowers that's kind of irrelevant. If people have got to scroll down far to get to that buy now button, they might just end up leaving your site to look for something a little bit easier to navigate. That is called bounce rate, and that's a negative sign to Google. It means your page sucks, basically. Google doesn't like that. And your score will definitely take a hit and drop, which means that your ad won't be presented, as easily against your competitors going forward. So again, it's an auction, right? But sometimes if you do it right, you can actually rank at the top while also paying the least out of all the advertisers. So ad rank is your quality score times the maximum bid you've selected. Simple math, really. But in theory, is what dictates which position you're going to appear in. It's not always that simple. So obviously, AdWords is kind of a massive landscape, something they've been developing and working on for many, many years. They make some drastic changes every year, some minor changes every month. They publish these things, and it's a lot to kind of read through and think about. But if you can, try and keep an eye on these changes. So basically, you've got to remember that the effective cost per click is determined by, the quality, your quality score, your bounce rate, your ad rank, your AdWords, your bid. Google will assess your maximum bid plus your quality score plus your ad rank and compare these against your competitors, all in fractions of a second, in order to determine what you're going to pay.
Renato, can I please interject for a moment? I have a couple of questions that have come through. So one of the questions is the name of the add-in to download to see keywords most used.
I think it's called Keywords Everywhere.
Keywords Everywhere.
Yeah, I'll quickly jump back to that page. You can kind of see the link. There's a link at keywordseverywhere.com.
Thank you so much. And is this, Hannah has asked if this is 250 Rand a month?
Yeah. So, well, depends on how long you want to run your ad. So if you've got an ad that you want to run for 2 weeks, you can start as little as 250 Rand. If you want it to run a month, obviously you won't get as many impressions and clicks, but you can start with as little as 250 Rand.
Okay, thank you. And the last question I have in the chat box for now is, does one just copy and paste the link to a specific website page into the ad?
We'll get to that. We'll answer that question.
All right, thank you.
As we go through, I'll show you how it works. So in a nutshell, once you set up your Google Ads environment, it already knows what your website link is. So it will only want so whatever your website is, everything from the / thereon is the link that you is a specific link that you probably kind of paste in. Remembering that the link is obviously limited to 15 characters. Cool. So back to, no, that's not it. Back to how your ad is kind of shown. This is a really great graphic from WordStream that basically shows you how it kind of works and what the things are that Google look at to kind of post your ad against other people. So just because you've put in an $8 bill or bid price, per click, doesn't mean that your ad's going to get shown. As you can see in this scenario, advertiser 1 has got the maximum bid, which is a quarter of what the max advertiser, for's bid is, and their ad is shown. And they were billed less. So they didn't actually spend the full $2, they spent $1.61 because their ad rank was higher, their quality score was far better. Because Google realizes that these guys produce quality, information. Okay, I think we're going to have to fly a little bit from here. So there's a question here from Hannah. Did I understand correctly that you can add an ad and pay when people are clicking on it? Yes and no. So yes, if you set up your ad correctly, you can pay per click only. And that click could be a whole bunch of things. In general, you don't only want clicks. You actually want your ad to be seen by people. So you pay per click and you pay per 1,000 views. So there's two ways that you will get billed on an ad. Okay, so I'm just going to fly through. So basically, this is how you sign up. There's a link for you that you can click on later. I'm not going to show you all of this. So first, once you've clicked sign in or start here, it'll ask you for email address and your website. So in our case, it will be www.doublebarrel.co.za. I'm not going to put anything beyond that because I want my ads to go to certain pages. The next page that you're presented to is this, or something like this. I think things have changed a little bit. You might see a different page when I go through the demo. So, I mean, the first time you're doing this and you come up with this kind of information, it's like, what the hell, Google? I don't know half of these things. I haven't even thought about this yet. So I'm going to show you a way to get around this. So obviously it's going to ask you about your location. So we're in South Africa. That's if you want your ads to run through South Africa. There's different options of setting up your ad where it's going to display. Like I said, we're going to focus on search and not display. Display obviously will be things like graphics and videos. It's the kind of thing you see. I mean, at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of ads from Mr. Delivery, delivering your food. Every time I go to watch a YouTube video, Mr. Delivery ad comes up. That's the display network. We're going to focus on the search. So if somebody goes to google.co.za and types in whatever they're looking for, this is where your ad will kind of show up. I'll go through, keywords and how to set them up. And so we kind of, let's get started. This is the page you're going to be presented with today. It's going to ask you for your email. And this is like when we started this process in session 1, I said, create yourself a separate Google or Gmail account. Use that to log in here. And then we're going to go through, once you're in, we're going to go to the tools. We're going to go to Keyword Planner. I'll show you how to set up keywords. The question was asked, which one am I doing? So that we will go through those two options shortly. And we'll show you some ways of using the information to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to spend, how many people are going to see the keywords, etc. Okay, so I'm going to change my screen. And I want to share my whole screen this time. Okay, so let's share. Okay, we're going to run a little bit over, and we can see that. So if you need to go, I'm sorry. If you can stick around for a little bit longer, I'll continue going through and creating the first ad. So in the background, I've kind of done a little bit of research. I've created a little, I did a little plan I mentioned. So as you can see here, I've created a little spreadsheet, nothing fancy, basic. As you can see, I've used keywords for digital marketing. I've added the different variations of a keyword, what I want to see, what I want to be found specifically on my ad, etc. I've also created a negative keyword list. So I would have one set up. I mean, this is very, very comprehensive. I mean, I don't want my, I'm not looking for people to join me. So I've added the words careers. I've added things, I mean, I don't want my ads to go onto undesirable websites. So anybody that's searching for XXX or X-rated, I've excluded. So if anybody's searching for that, my ads won't show up on that. I'm selling digital marketing. I'm not selling, IT support. So I've removed that kind of stuff. I don't want to show you. I don't want, if somebody's looking up weather, I don't want to be, I don't want to pay for them to see my ad when it's not necessary. So always create yourself a negative keyword list as well. Onto the planning, I've created basically 2 ads. I'm going to try and, I'll definitely get through one today. So basically I've created a campaign, what type of campaign it is. I'll show you how that works. I want this campaign to reach out to people to phone me from their cell phones. We'll talk about search engine optimization, and then I've created headings. And as you can see, it's counting the amount of characters I have in this box. So it's kind of a simple calculation. If you know Excel, as I mentioned, the headings are 30 characters. That includes spaces, full stops, and any other strange characters. Some of them they won't let you use. So when you go through the process, Google will come back to you and say, don't like that star or that underscore or the tilde, whatever the case is. Exclamation marks, they also don't like. So, and also capitalization. So if you make a word buy now all in capitals, it probably won't get approved. So this little spreadsheet helps me kind of count the characters. As you can see, I've hit 30 characters on each one of the headings. My first description, I've kind of hit the 60 character mark, 90 character mark, quite simply. And the second description, I haven't quite made it, but I mean, 9 characters with a space is not much of a word there. I'm driving people straight to my website, so I don't have any additional links, but still have 15 characters to work with. So that's my ad. I've set up a basic budget. I mean, it can cover a lot more things. So I've set up a monthly budget for 250 Rand, a daily budget for 8 Rand. I mean, this can be whatever numbers you want. And what am I aiming at? I'm aiming at cost per click, and that click is a call. So I'm hoping to get 5 calls in the whole period. It's a very simple ad. It's I'm not expecting too much. Obviously, if I wanted more calls, this daily budget is going to have to go up, and then obviously it's going to push your overall budget higher. So this is my little plan on creating an ad. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at keyword planners. But before we get there, we have to set up the account. So I'm going to change this to my double barrel account, which is the agencies. As you can see, I don't have an account yet. So I'll click on, new Google account. I've already done that, so I'll just click on the one that I'm already in progress with. So remember I said in the beginning, and I said, make yourself a promise, keep it simple. This is nice. This looks great. It's a great way to kind of, achieve what you want. So my first ad is get more calls. Great. Following these processes with Google, there's a lot of things that Google adds in that you won't know about and that will affect your costs and how your ads are presented. So as I said, I'll show you a couple of hacks. So at the bottom here, click on this, switch to expert mode. It will allow you to create an ad that you want. So unfortunately, you have to go through this in the beginning. It's part of the process. Once you've gone and created your first ad, I mean, if you don't want your ad to run, you can go and pause it or cancel it or, whatever you like. I think pause is probably the only thing that Google allows you to do, so you won't get billed. So in the time it takes us to set this up, we'll have created an ad. There's enough time for you to go in and pause your ad before Google actually approves it. It has to go through the approval process. There is an automated system in the background that kind of looks at things. If there's something that the automated system doesn't like capitals, it will automatically reject your bid or your ad and tell you to go make changes. Sometimes it will tell you through the process, you know, there's too many characters, go and have a look at your ad and fix it. And then you've got to go through the whole process. Well, you've got to go through the ad where it's highlighted and find where the problem is. It's usually highlighted in red, so it's quite clear. If there's stuff that it's happy with, but not 100% sure, an individual will end up looking at it. So your ad might take anything up to 24 hours to be approved if everything's in place. So if you kind of set up a display ad and you've got no images, but all your text is correct, you know, it's not going to present the ad that you want without the images. So it'll come back to you and say, you know, you've set up the ad, where your images. Then you've got to create an ad. And then obviously the images have characteristics that you have to add to it. So a description, a heading, whatever the case is, a link where you want people to go if they click the image. So that's kind of the process that Google will go through. So again, there's different ways of setting up your adverts. I mean, I think I want people to call me was the first ad that I had. So let's have a look here. I set up 2 ads. So one was call me and one was to generate more website traffic. So there's a website traffic option there, but I want you to read at the bottom. It says campaign types, search, display, shopping, video, and discovery. So this is why I say keep it simple. If you click on this button, it's going to send the ad to all of those potential areas. In a search ad, which is the simplest way of setting it up, you're not going to have to set up graphics. You're not going to have to set up, if you're selling something, this is a great one. You're not going to have to set up all your landing pages and products. It's not going to ask you for a video. In this case, it will. So I'm going to go and create my own campaign. Again, keep it simple. This is one way of keeping it simple. So I only want to go to search. So this is just purely a text ad. As you saw, there's no images, it's simple, basic. First ad, we'll click on search. That first ad, I wanted people to make phone calls. So off I go, I'll click the little phone calls button. And this is South Africa. And I'll put in our number. And off we go. So I've called this a smart search campaign. So I suggest you label it. So you can kind of see it in the main screen and you can differentiate your ads. And this is about SEO. And I want people to call. So I don't want this to go into the display network. I only want it to be in the search network. I'm just going to keep it all basic. I said our budget is 250 Rand for the month. And I'm not going to click through this yet. Remember, we're trying to get to keyword planner. So I'm trying to keep this as basic as I can, just to get past the initial screen. We can always go back and edit and change. So I'm not going to put in all my AdWords. I'm just going to put in a couple because I don't know. Let's go down to there. You see, I copy and just paste it in. Done. Let's talk e-marketing. And we will call this, in this case, I'm just going to leave it as ad group 1. What's nice here is, I'll show you this in the search as well. You can type in your website address. If I want to look up a competitor, I would type in their website address because it will then have a look at what keywords they're using and make suggestions for me. But we'll get to that. So let's save and continue. So we're creating text ads. And this is your first advert. So as you can see, I created my ads up in advance, so I don't have to go and retype everything again. You can just copy and paste, and copy and paste. So as you can see here, it shows you the number. Why I say, do this in advance is then you're not going to exceed those numbers. Because if you're sitting in the ad and you have to think, oh, okay, there's too many words, it's just going to take longer for you to set it all up. And then the last setting is basically my content. So as you can see here, it displays, the heading that I want people to see. And let's just do. It always wants, you see a little error mark here? It wants you to have a secure website. So always put in the HTTPS in front of it. And it goes away. So that's kind of what the ad will look like. If you're on a phone, that little button over there, you just touch it and it will automatically open your dialer, which is what I want. Let's put in our descriptions. There. As you can see, 90 for 90. And description 2. This is quite advanced. We're not going to touch this today. This basically just helps you track your ads. I mean, you can put in different templates that basically says, I'm tracking smart search, SEO calls, and it'll put this, when you're looking at analytics, it'll put those details in there for you. So let's go.
Can I ask something? Sorry, while you're there.
Yes.
Your third headline, what did you put in? I can't see. It's very small.
My third headline?
Yeah.
Is Double Barrel Digital Marketing.
That's your website?
Yes. No, that's my company.
So you put the name of the company there?
You don't have to. If you've got more that you want to put into the headline that you want people to see relating to whatever you're doing, you can put that in there.
And then where you said you'd show us later, where you put the page on your website, the link, where would you put that?
So this over here is final URL. So you'd have to put in your website address and then yes, the actual part that you're going to end up. So if I wanted to go, I could put in contact, it takes you to the contact page, or I can put in, let's say I've got an SEO page. You put that in there. SEO, let's call it marketing.
All right, I don't know how you add that in.
Yeah, here we go.
But it doesn't show that. It only shows headline 1, 2, and 3. And then the 90 character thing.
Where are you looking?
I'm saying on but I've got, all right, I think we'll have to take this offline. I don't want to waste everybody's time. Okay.
Cool. I think I know where you are. You're probably in a different place to where I am. It's when you're setting up your ad differently.
Because we've got Google Ads Express.
Ah, yes.
It's the free one, yeah, for NGOs. Yes. So it may be different.
Yes, it is different.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Express is no longer available. I think they sunset that about a year ago.
No, we've still got it.
Yeah, I know you've got it. But it's not an option.
Oh.
Once you've set up your profile and told them, told Google who you are and what you're about, you guys have obviously set up your profile and said you're an NGO, they present you with the Express version of it. Yes. I'm a company that sells and makes money off my ads, so they won't present me with the Google Express option.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to say done. I don't want to create a new ad. I just want to create the one. Let's hit done. Save. Okay. And let's see if it'll let me get past this. No. See, it tells me, as I said, there's a violation. It contains the following.
Renato, sorry, Would it be possible to zoom in on that? It's quite difficult to see what it's saying. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Better.
So basically, it's telling me that I've got too many punctuation marks. So if I take out one, because this is a sentence, or I could take out the punctuation mark and that. Try that. And okay, so it's gonna. Oh, I have to do this. Let's can that. I don't want it. So is it the same thing? Where's the punctuation? This over here. Dot dot dot. So let's put that in its place. Still a problem. It hasn't highlighted it though. Okay, so let's just get out of this. I want to go show you how the keywords work. Okay, so this is basically our setting up our okay, so that's all fine and done. Okay, cool. So now we basically set up our Google Ad. There we go. So obviously now I've got no ads running, so it's going to show no information yet. So now we've created this ad because we had to, but we haven't done any of the research to make sure this ad works the way we want it to. If we go to settings, I'm going to pause this ad because I don't have ads. And I don't even like the way they set it up. As you can see here, my ad's basically been approved. It is now learning about the keywords that we've put in. Let's go to campaign, and pause it. So we don't want the ad to run. So it will go through its process. So at the top here, as I mentioned, tools and settings. You can go to keyword planner. And remember, I've got my trusty little planning guide in the background. So I have my keywords already that I want to use. So I'm not going to go and discover new keywords. So we'll talk about, let's have a look at the search volume and the potential forecast. Again, let's select all the words. As you can see here, it says, paste in your keywords, one word or phrase per line. So if Excel makes it nice and simple for you, so just copy and paste. It does that for you. Or you can upload a CSV file. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to look at, ignore this for now, is cost per click. So this is kind of a default number that they put in. And you can kind of change this. So if we go back to my plan and my budget, I said I wanted, you know, 8 Rand a day. So I've got to kind of work out if I want, I don't know, a call a day or 2 calls a day. I've got to make that 16 Rand instead of 14 Rand, as an example. It's already created ad group 1. You'll probably have a conflict if we save this because the other ad we set up has also got ad group 1. So this kind of shows you the metrics on these current AdWords we selected. They're expecting in the next month, you know, 5.1 thousand clicks, 110,000 impressions, and my cost on running these keywords is 47,000 Rand because we've selected 14 Rand, you know, a maximum cost per click. Our click-through rate will be a 4.8%. What were we hoping for? A 1%. Average cost per click is R9.17. That wasn't what we wanted, so we're going to have to reduce this value to see this change. Let's change this to R2. You see the numbers will change now. So the numbers drop, the impressions drop, the costs come down, your position also changes. So this is unfortunately part of the process. Okay, so that's basically doing some research. It kind of gives you an idea of what, what it will cost, what your click-through rate will be. Because it's so low, they're not expecting me to get any impressions or any clicks from that value. Once you get going, you can set up your ads where you can have your minimum bid at R2, but if your ads start working, you can add a percentage to grow. So you can kind of say, well, this is working. I want more clicks. It's working really well. You can go into your ad settings and you can kind of say, well, let's grow this by 20%. So next time I'm in a bid and I'm competing neck to neck with somebody else, I've got the automatic ability to kind of increase my bid by 20%, up to 20%, to beat whoever I'm competing against. You can change your view to see all your keywords. We've got 38 over here. So that's, checking out your keyword, getting some metrics on it. And you can kind of decide what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. So I know that this is a very busy keyword and the bids are extremely high. If I change this to 150 Rand a click, some time to work out, I will get 855 clicks. I'll get 15,000 impressions, but it's going to cost me 21,000 Rand, and my click-through rate is only going to be 5.5%. So it should cost me average of 25 Rand a click. As I mentioned earlier, there's some legal firms that we've dealt with and insurance companies that have easily spent 100,000 Rand on a click, but that click turns out to be a new client, which they kind of bring that money back in very quickly. Okay, so negative keywords. Again, we just add these in here. I'm not too phased about what they're going to cost, but you should always have an account level negative keywords list, and you can always remove on the ad level later. These are all broad-based keywords. I'm not going to match them, so if anybody types in any one of these words in the search with any of the keywords we selected, it's not going to show up. So this is now on account level. I've added all these negative keywords. I don't think we're going to have anything here, but it will show you the trends in the past. It makes some recommendations. So that's part of how you do kind of research on your keywords. If we go back to the forecast, at this point, if you like these keywords, we've realized that 2 is not going to be enough. We could take them out altogether. We can remove them, because why potentially pay for keywords that are not going to bring you any benefit? Okay, so the other thing I mentioned was, we're in Firefox. Let's go to google.co.za, doing keyword research. Let's pick a word here. Let's look for SEO. I wanted to be specific. I have this tool installed, as you can see over here, keywords everywhere. Paste this in, do a search, give it a little bit, and there you see it brings up additional keywords around SEO, search engine optimization. In this, and you can export that as a CSV and use those keywords that you see here. Obviously, go through the list and take out the things that you don't want. So I wouldn't, for example, media short courses in South Africa. I don't do that. So I would take that keyword out before I import the CSV into the keywords. So that's another way of searching. I mentioned earlier, so if we do a search, as you can see, Google already makes recommendations for me on what I'm looking for. And as you can see, we're in South Africa, we use an S. Overseas, they use a Z. It tells you, it obviously shows you the differences here. So in my original keywords, I think I've got the S. Maybe I should add the Z now. We might have somebody sitting here in South Africa that has got the language set up to English US. So they would spell it in Word, for example, with a Z rather than an S. So it makes the recommendations here for you as well. Cool. So now with my keywords, I can kind of see what to expect over the next 30 days. I don't want to spend so much money. So I'm going to have to, you know, do with less impressions and less clicks. I was hoping to get 5 clicks in the month, not 3.8 thousand. So I'm not going to, obviously, this gives me an idea of what it will cost, but I can reduce all these numbers here to bring this down to something more palatable to me. So that's keyword research in a nutshell, the very basic starting point. So remember, we also said, I think this is Search Console. I set this up recently, so I might not have any information. I think it's part of the process. So I don't have any data here. There we go. There's some keywords that people have used to find my website. I can then take these keywords and add them to my keyword list. So this is a good starting point. Kind of see where people are coming from. This is when you set up your ad, you can kind of say, I want to focus in South Africa, but exclude listed to, or I want to focus in the UK, exclude South Africa. And let's see, I want to focus on desktop. Most of my stuff is going through desktop. So let's create this campaign. This is saved. Let's do test 2 SEO calls. So it's recommending me a budget. I said my average daily budget was, I'm going to go up to 10 Rand. I think I worked it out to be about 8 Rand 33, which is going to get me nowhere. 10 Rand will probably get me nowhere, but it's a starting point. And then we're going to go through that process again. So we've created ad group 1. The bid is 14 Rand. I said we can kind of change that. Let's go create ad. And we're basically going to go through the same process we did earlier. So let's do this. Okay, so now we had some issues with the full stops. So I'm taking out the full stops. We don't have the same problem again. And we also had an issue with these full stops. So we'll take those out. See, it doesn't like repetition. If you had to change that to ... Google doesn't like that, doesn't want to see that. I'm not going to do anything else. And let's go save and create. What did we violate this time? Oh, okay. And the ad's been approved. So now the next one, I'm going to do the same thing for, I know I wanted website traffic, but let's do SEO. I'm going to get into trouble for this because it's got the brackets. And take out all the punctuation. So the right way, I've taken out the full stop. Okay. Save and create. I don't want to create that, and there's no violations. It's telling me I need to add more headlines. So let's go SEO. And little curveballs I'd like to throw at you. Why did it say that? So you can see there's two different options here. It'll show the two ads that you've created. So this is the responsive ad. So if somebody searches for pay-per-click, it will change and show pay-per-click in the beginning here. This is what these additional headlines are for. This is for a responsive ad. And this kind of gives you an idea of what still, actually this is not right, still outstanding. I mean, this is a good guideline to help you get, obviously, more out of your ad. Marketing. Okay, so I'm not going to, let's see what they say, review ideas. Call us today. That I can't do. Okay, so let's leave it at that. Save the ad. So now we have our ads all under review. So Google's little robot will go and have a look at our ads and then decide, you know, if everything's above board, if the robot is happy, this should come back in probably 15, 20 minutes as approved, and the status will probably be eligible learning. And then that'll, again, depending on how you set up your ad, could take anything between 1 and 5 days to come out of the learning phase, and your ads could start presenting in the next hour or in the next 2 days. So this is where the patience comes in. If they don't like something, this message will change. It will probably be in brackets and in red, and you'll have another message under recommendations to say, you know, this is not working. Go and have a look here to fix the ad. While the ad's running, something that we offer our clients is we have a look at all campaigns. We'll go and log into their profile every day. We'll have a look at the recommendations. Sometimes by accident, we may have put in 2 or 3 keywords that are the same and not realize it. It'll come back and say, you know, you've got duplication. Let's get rid of them. And then ask you to either do it manually or say, or give you the option to say, you know, fix it. And then it's, you know, it removes those keywords automatically for you, the duplicates. So that's Google Ads and Keyword Planner in a nutshell. Any questions before we move on? Tracy?
I'm here.
Hello, Laurie.
Hello, Renato. I'm here. Are there any questions for Renato?
I seem to have lost my window.
We can see you.
Ah, there we go.
Hannah.
Hi,
wants to
can I ask sorry, can I ask
Yes,
Ronaldo a question?
Yep.
Anna, you can ask.
Okay, Ronaldo, I want to ask you a question regarding going to a website. And for instance, I'm an academic and I want to join an academic website. And when I try to join, I'm an academic, okay? And there is an academic website for search. So I'm trying to join that website and through Google, and they want me, the only way that I will be able to search in their website is by allowing them actually to get all my entire information, every details, informations, and as well, they put a clause there about security, that they are not liable if other sources actually access all the information that I've got. Now, I find it very, very risky. What do you, from your experience, what do you think?
So are they asking you this information while you're kind of signing up to join them? And then it pops up with a screen saying connect with Google or connect with Facebook?
They gave an option to connect from Google or Facebook, but in the terms, they would be able to get all the information about me.
So yes, so there's two things I can think about here. So one is they will basically look at your profile and pull your information. So your first name, last name, if you put your date of birth in, your physical address, your phone number, and they'll use that to populate the rest of the contact form, if you like, or the form that you're busy filling in. Or it is something where if you're trying to use their services from their website and integrate it into the back of your website, it needs certain accesses to your Google account, as an example, where it kind of says we will be able to view whatever the following information is. In that process, you should be able to tick a box to say, edit what they're allowed to see and what they're not allowed to see, and you can take out what you don't want them to see.
No, actually, in the terms, they actually even say that, for instance, if there is if I'm in for instance, if I post anything political whatsoever, they can actually report it to the authorities. If I'm in debt, they can actually report it to the authority, all that kind of things. In other words, they're getting into all my private information.
Okay. Are they trying to do like a credit check on you as well? I mean, how would they get that information?
I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's what was written in their terms. I don't know how they're going to do it, because I'm going just to link through my Google account. So I don't know how they're going.
Once you if you decide to accept it, you can go back into, I can't think off the top of my head how, but there's a way in your Google account where you can limit them.
And no, they actually say that you're allowed, and if you are not, and you can actually describe, and you block them. But if I block them, I will not be able to search, do research in their website.
Okay. The other way of potentially getting around that is creating another Google account with basic information in it, and use that rather than your personal one.
So creating a different Google account.
Yeah. With limited information. I mean, you can change your birth date, you can change you don't have to put your physical address in, you can change your phone numbers, whatever. I mean, maybe you want to keep your phone number so they can't get hold of you, but
Okay, and they will not be able through the phone number to get into personal information. Probably through the phone number they can get through personal information.
Well, yes. I suppose if they've got access to that kind of stuff, yes, they can. But I mean,
Because
generally,
personal number has got probably idea whatsoever.
look, I mean, if these guys have got those things available to them, it doesn't matter what information you give them, they're going to find out who you are anyway.
Even if I open a different account.
Yeah, but it's just that account, I mean, is not going to give them everything that you've currently got in your